Welcome to Unfamiliar Territory, an anime podcast hosted by two white dudes who've been friends for over 15 years. We talk about the history and influence of anime, as well as review anime new and old, believe in the stars, and sail away for the future into unfamiliar territory.
My name is Grant.
And I'm Brantley. Heads up, spoilers on the way. Check the description, see if you're safe to listen. I want to start off this episode by giving you a piece of anecdotal history I came across on the internet.
Okay.
So, I heard, now this is, hearsay, but I trust it. It's coming from fans of Mobile Suit Gundam. I heard that Gundam Wing was dedicated to all of the female fans who would write, boy love doujins. There's some quote, I think, from Tomino, hey, the person who kind of kickstarted all of this Gundam stuff, basically saying, hey, the people who are, the real fans who made Gundam something were the people writing those doujins, the, fan fiction community, they're the people who actually got Gundam popular. Which I think is just fascinating, right? I think it's very easy to look at Gundam and Gunpla and feel that's we grew up after Gundam had achieved success, right? I was born in 94, so Gundam had been a thing for decades by the time I was even born, and so looking backwards, short-sightedly, I'm quick to think, oh well, yeah, Gundam is a weird case where in one sense, it's a political show about, warfare and imperialism, and then also they just sell a bunch of toys.
It's true.
But to hear, the original creator being no, really, the reason any of this really, got anywhere is because of women writing, about how they wanted, Char and Amuro to kiss or whatever, etc. I think that's lovely. We're now happy to say that Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury is proudly professing that girls can have fun too. And by that I mean it's another nefarious Yuri.
Nefarious Yuri.
Well, that's not our phrase. That's to the cosmos now.
I think Nefarious Yuri is one of my favorite new phenomenon that has occurred in modern day anime history amongst vote for the best couples, and it's almost always, at least the past two seasons, has been girl on girl relationships, because I think Chisato and Takina won before Suleta, and this is it.
You can do it.
Be ready day.
Damn it. Hey everybody, if you're listening to this review, you're in for a fucking ride, because Grant and I found out kind of unconsciously to consciously that we had been talking about the characters in this show basically as long as the season was running, and then only about till episode 11 or 12 did we simultaneously come to the realization that oh no, we've both been pronouncing Miorine's name wrong.
Miorine. And also I can't pronounce shit. That is one of the most consistent things about this podcast is I pronounce names so wrong. I apologize.
Well, it's funny too, because I had not been mentioning it. I was Grant's not pronouncing it right, but I don't want to be a dick about it. And meanwhile, I was mispronouncing it too. I was saying Mirione instead. It's whenever I heard it in the show, my brain was auto-completing it to something different to make sure I didn't experience any cognitive dissonance. It is wild. So if that bothers you, I'm sorry. But anyways, we're going to review Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury.
And we're also going to talk a little bit about our personal theories, which basically means Reddit's theories, because I've been obsessed of reading everyone's opinions of the show since it started coming out.
Well, I haven't, so you get, well-dweller Brantley to also put some opinions at the end,
So before we get going, I want to ask, was there a time when you were growing up, because Gundam's always kind of been in that anime cartoon zeitgeist of the early to late 90s and the mid 2000s, where you just kind of accidentally saw it if you watched Cartoon Network growing up.
Mm-hmm.
what background knowledge did you have? Because I'm gonna throw it out on the table right now. My knowledge of Gundam is limited to G-Witch, like the first 12 episodes of Gundam Build Fighters, and my friend that I work with telling me everything that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I have a lot of weird tertiary experiences from when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. So my experience was when I was a kid, someone I knew either was into or had a game of like Gundam SD, I don't know if it's SD Gundam or Gundam SD. Anyways, that one where they're, chibi sized and all that.
Yes.
That was basically my exposure to it as a kid. Then, also when I was a kid, someone in elementary school said they turned on Transformers and they were swearing in it, and that could have been one of like the like Transformers media, or it could have been Gundam, and they just thought it was still Transformers, right? Because robots. I don't know to this day, and I'll never find out. But that could have also been like a like an emission of Gundam radiation that I didn't really know about. I started to see like Gunpla and stuff like that, and like I honestly never got the appeal. It was always one of those things where I was just like, I'm not getting into that. But then as a teenager, it started entering my cultural zeitgeist more as I was getting into anime. Like Ball and Big Zam were getting memed, and so I was in direct exposure to that. From there, I started following people that were very into Gundam, and although they weren't like doing anything directly with Gundam, I was hearing about Gundam. So, like Woolly Versus, for example, just randomly kind of throw out, like a Shining Finger reference or no, Burning Finger.
Burning Finger.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I didn't know that much about Gundam. I still don't. And then like aside from that, it was getting hype about the arcade games at an anime convention that we go to, and so and leaving there with still a total vacuum of knowledge of anything that happened, but like that was it, right? It was just, let's get hyped about playing as a tank and not like a Gundam, like just a tank.
Right.
Yeah, I guess like it didn't help that when I got into anime, any of the mech stuff that I cared about was like I was getting the residuals of Gundam. So like Neon Genesis Evangelion was like my first mecha show, like as far as I can think of, or at least the first one that I really like cared about for being mecha. And because of that show's human-centeredness, I kind of just like I didn't get that what Gundam was about, right? I just kind of figured it was about like smashing toys together. And so I had, again, just no interest. It was like none of it would stick for me. And then this show came out and I started hearing two things. I heard, one, it's Revolutionary Girl Utena, and two, it's gay. And so then that bumped it up on the list. Oh no, I lied. There's one thing. I did hear the opening theme to Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. And it's awesome. And now it's the it's obviously been the unfamiliar territory theme as long as that's been going on. So I know we went through a whole episode of Tokyo Mew Mew recently of talking about are we fake fans or not. I am definitely a Gundam fake fan because I've been putting the Zeta opening theme in here this whole time, and I'd never had any Gundam exposure. So there you go.
Perfect. Good thing. When I was a kid, I had an SD Gundam toy.
Yes.
Because it looked cool. I played and I actually just looked it up. I played the Gundam Wing Assault on CartoonNetwork.com, which is like a paper scissors rock chess kind of game.
Yeah.
So I played that.
How could I forget? Also... We 100% were in on the "I'll kill you."
Oh yeah, I mean we know the memes.
Everybody loves I'll kill you.
And then I once bought. I was up in Wisconsin on a lake visit with my family, and I was like 10, and we went to, I think, Hobby Lobby. And I don't remember why, but I do remember seeing a Gunpla there. I don't remember what Gunpla it was. I wish I did. And I thought it was just a toy. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, giant robot. And I bought it. And when I opened it and it was a bunch of fucking like plastic pieces, I was just like, I'm not qualified to do this.
Yeah, my twin brother and I had the same experience with some Mega Man X figures when we were young. My mom had found some, and like that was wild because I was like, because at that point Mega Man X was old, right? Like, and like sure there were new games being released, but they weren't like, no one was making products of them as far as I could know. And so here, bam, she finds these garage kits for...
I have an Axel figure from Mega Man X.
Yeah, I know, but like they I didn't think they were that easy to find, right? I didn't get that impression.
That's because you were bad at finding
I wasn't
toys.
looking far... Yeah, I wasn't looking close enough, apparently. Well, that was also when, like, Mega Man Battle Network was already in run, and so therefore, like, I kind of equated Mega Man X as like the Dead series, while I was like Battle Network was going on, and I could definitely find Battle Network toys because I was having a run on Kids WB. So
this is like the 5th time we've talked about Mega Man in a podcast episode that had nothing to do with
anyways, I got a garage kit. Okay, I did build it though, so it's a little wobbly, but it works.
But when I saw this, I remember I was on either the anime subreddit or something, and someone said you can watch the prologue on YouTube for free, and I'm like, sure, Brantley, do you want to watch it? And we did, and honestly, the prologue still might be the best episode of the series. And that's not to say that the rest of the series doesn't kick ass. At least in my opinion, it kicks ass. But the prologue is incredible. It tells such a good story in the short time that you spend with it.
Yep. If there's one thing you take away from this review, it would be that give the prologue a shot. If you're looking for, like, you know, kind of dark anime, far future sci-fi robot mech stuff, then like you're probably not going to be disappointed. And if you're at all concerned about, oh, it's, you know, it's high schoolers, teenagers piloting robots and stuff, the prologue doesn't reach that. It's very self-contained. So go have a good time with it.
Yes. Also, justice for my boy Tequila Gundam. Love him. And so going forward into this review, you know that Brantley and I have very limited experience on Gundam.
Yes. So
as much as I would love to talk about how this has parallels with like Gundam Seed, I think is what people are saying, or maybe Gundam 00, I don't remember. Know that I know nothing about them. So Gundam Witch from Mercury is our take on a show without any connection to the cultural, like, fan culture of it. So going forward, we'll start with the prologue. And I'll kind of run through kind of what happens. It's really important when we come to our theories to know why we think they are, because this show has a fuck ton of shit that is happening constantly.
Yes.
It is very, very dense. And the worst part is some of the stuff that we think is true might not be. So let's start with the prologue. So the prologue takes place on a big ol' space colony called the Vanadis, I believe. Vanadis Institute. And you meet a woman named Elnora and her husband Nadim, and they are building a Gundam. Now, Gundam in this universe is not necessarily like giant robots specifically. It also can be used for medical technology so that humans can specifically live in space longer, which I think is really neat. I really like that is a problem that is being portrayed here,
Yes.
just because that's an actual problem we have with going to space. Humans aren't made to be in space.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that the idea that these Gundam things is called the Gund format,
Mm-hmm.
which uses the person's brain and makes them control stuff. So they are working on a giant robot with a woman named Cardo Nabo, who is the inventor of the gun format technology. She replaced Elnora's right arm with a gun arm, and then they had their daughter, who at this point is known as Erict, or Eri. And during this time, while we're seeing them slowly develop the Lifrit model, the Gundam Lifrit, they can't get it to work because you need a special thing called a permit code, which allows you to kind of meld with this machine. And then we find out that a lot of people don't like Gundams. They're scared of them. They fear that it hurts their pilots or their users, so they want to end them. But of course, this being told by war profiteers means that they go in and they kill every single person in the Vanadis group except for Erict and Elnora, who escape because Erict is a small child this time. She's 4. She pilots a Gundam and just beats the shit out of everybody. And that is basically the prologue. There's a lot of other stuff that you get from it. You meet not exactly the antagonist of the show, sort of the antagonist, named Delling Rembrandt, who is the head of the Benneret Group, which is a business conglomerate that sort of is known for their mobile suit creators. So even if you are not making a mobile suit in this group, you are moving towards making them, and in some way, shape, or form. They sort of represent the business corporation that suppresses the Earthians at the time. Just it wouldn't be Gundam without space racism. Spacism. And so you have the Spacians and the Earthians, and the people on Earth are the oppressed group, and the Spacians are the oppressors. And they are basically ruled by the Benneret group, specifically Delling Rembrandt. And in this time, you also meet a dude named Sarius Zanelli, but he's not super prominent. At least I don't remember him being big in the prologue.
He's important in the sense that he's involved in critical conversations, but he's not got a lot of screen time in comparison to some of the other actors we're seeing prominently in the prologue.
So the prologue basically gives a reason for Elnora, now known as Prospera, to be pissed as hell at the Benneret group. Now that is basically the only confirmation of anything we have, because as we move forward, things start to get muddled. So either 13 years or 21 years into the future, we meet Suletta Mercury, who looks a hell of a lot like Elnora did when she was younger, and also a hell of a lot like Eri. And you kind of are supposed to assume that she is Eri, but there's a lot of shit going around at this time.
There's discrepancies that don't exactly line up.
Yes. And we'll talk a little bit about them. I didn't know that the show got a dub.
Yeah.
Huh. Did Iron Blood Orphans get a dub?
I don't know.
Sorry, that's a thing. Dub.
While you go check that out,
it did. Okay.
Cardo Nabo has to be the most Star Wars ass name of a character in the show. I just wanted to mention that.
What's Glip Shitto?
Glop Shitto. Thanks, internet. Oh, hey, by the way,
yeah.
with the prologue, again, I think it's a good place to test your feelings on this show, even though like you're going to get more school antics and stuff in the full series. What you are going to get clued in on is, as Grant said, a lot of like business and political dealings.
Ballistics? Well, I guess
ruined.
It's ballistics business. There are guns.
Yeah. The fact that we're taking something like Gundam, right, and we're reportraying it as like, well, Gundam is like an interface, right? The Gund format is like more broadly what we might refer to the technology of like being able to like link brain to robotic mechanism, right? And then like the fact that has like a certain like application that then is being like disrupted, the fact that it has a history of what it started as in small scale to what it built up to, right? Like the fact that there are different corporations that are sort of acting in governance, and the fascist sort of dealings of merging business and government, right? If you like to really split hairs on who's who and, you know, what kind of influences they have and that kind of thing, that this is definitely your kind of show. If you're not someone who's into that, then it's okay. You'll be fine. I think the characters are still pretty like clear cut on who you should trust as the protagonists, who you should be a little iffy on, and who is sort of the bastards of the show. But yes, if you like nitty-gritty details on like the, you know, fiscal political dimensions of everything that's going on, you can make this show your project.
Oh yeah, it's fucking it's wild, and we'll get into that being a little bit wild. But the prologue's really good. It's really tragic. I really like that we do see some people of color represented in the Vanitas project, even though they don't live very long. Mm-hmm. I mean, Soletta is a the name is Indian. Mm-hmm. Or Hindi, I think.
Yeah, so she's a mixed race kid.
Yeah, and so is Nadim. So that's fun. It's you know,
yeah,
diversity. It's good.
We've got a progressive kind of cast here. It's appreciated. Lots of shapes and sizes of people. Disability being fronted, you know.
Yeah. We see it for the rest of it. I don't really think there's too much to talk like, oh, this is going to be a huge shocking point, but it is nice to see.
Yeah, it's stamp of approval, you know.
Yeah. So as we move into the actual show in episode 1, we see that Suletta, who is a 17-year-old girl who is coming to the Astikasia School of Technology, where people come to study on how to do big robots, baby. Mm-hmm. And this can become either as pilots, mechanics, designers, business. There's just a whole bunch of shit that you get to do. Sort of like how the Barrett Group has a bunch of different companies that do a bunch of different things. Mm-hmm. Coming to the school does not necessarily mean that you are going to be a pilot. You could be whatever. Mm-hmm. But we're only going to focus mostly on the pilots because that's where the action happens.
Yeah.
So we find out rather quickly that I have to pronounce the name again. Now I have like 8 different pronunciations.
Well, here, what you can do is you can pronounce it 8 times, and then I will splice out the one that makes it. No, it's Miorine.
No. Miorine. Yeah, Miorine is trying to escape the school for Suletta to rescue her, but Miorine is like, don't do this, why are you doing this? And Soletta's like, I saved you were floating in space. Miorine is like, fuck you, I hate this shit. And then you don't exactly know why. And then a giant robot fight breaks out in the lunchroom, and it turns out that the person who was the best duelist in the school gets to be Mironine's fiance. You get a smoocher. You get to marry her. That's the idea. And we don't find out about that until later, because Suletta finds out that the current holder of the title is a guy by the name of Guel Jeturk. Jeturk is a subsidiary of the Delling Corporation, of the Benneret Group, and in the second episode is planning to assassinate the head of it, which is Delling Rembrandt, the one who ordered the attack on the Vanitas Institution. And so before they could kill him, though, Suletta wins the duel, thus becoming Miorine.
You got it. First try.
Miorine. Yeah. Miorine's
no, you went backwards.
I fucked it. It doesn't matter.
It's okay. Just go.
So Guel no longer holds it. So if they did assassinate them, then Guel would not marry Miorine, but Suletta would, and so they have to hold back on this assassination plot. Don't you just hate it when your child's inability to win a duel gets in the way of political assassination?
Mm-hmm.
And so you sort of kind of get this seeing of this school. I like the school setting. I know not a lot of Gundam fans are super on board with it. I like it. I think it's fun. It reminds me a little bit of Code Geass, which is a good and bad thing. I like that we are getting a build-up of these characters who will be in this war, mm-hmm. essentially, right?
Yeah.
We are getting to see these kids who are living in a society where war is on the precipice, and it is interesting to see how they are developing into that, mm-hmm. right? How they are partaking in it, what they're worried about, and I think it makes the drama of the last couple episodes very, very good.
Yeah.
But I can see why it would put off some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's any relief to know, really it has a vocational school vibe to it. So that means that there's not going to be any jokes about like, oh, this class is so boring or anything like that, right? It's the school setting is the excuse to get characters to practice skills and interact with each other.
Right.
And that like the whole like private school edge to it is also important for the whole like, capitalism and like, more money, less problems kind of thing they have going on. Or also, I guess, more money, more problems in some ways. But you get the idea, right? That, like, here's a bunch of, like, private school wannabes, and here's how Suletta's gonna dunk on them, right?
Right.
From backwards Mercury, right? So.
Yes. And that kind of starts to come into the second episode, too. So, with the duel finishing, Suletta is arrested because she's using a Gundam, and that's illegal. Her Gundam is known as Ariel, which is very close to Eri, which will go into some theories that we'll talk about here in a bit. But she's arrested because using a Gundam is illegal, and Delling basically says to Miorine, it's going to be this like for this forever. Miorine.
Do you need like a tab open to just like have it so you can read it?
No, I can see it. I can read it. I see it. It's just I'm bad at it. It's very hard for me to say because one of the things is that one of the nicknames that she gets is Mio,
mm-hmm.
and so
just call her Mio.
But it's not Mio. Yeah,
cool.
But she's going to be transferred out of the school, and so she finds the smugglers that were going to take her to Earth. And basically goes to join the hearing in which Suletta is being accused of using a Gundam, and that the Shinsei Development Corporation, which is Prospera's corporation, Suletta's mom, is the one that developed Ariel. They say that Ariel is not a Gundam because she uses drones, not bits. So the drones are not working within the person's mind. They're being piloted using AI, which is different, apparently. But they say, hey, we're going to expel Suletta, and they challenge Delling. Well, Miorine challenges Delling to a duel, and if they win, the charges will be dropped, And if Delling wins, Mionine will follow whatever he wants. And Vim, Jeturk, who is Guel's father, is on board with it because Prospera knows that he tried to assassinate Delling. So she's like, hey, listen, you gotta have my back here or I'm gonna take you to the feds. And so so you already kind of start to see this political like backstabbing and this stuff that's happening in this episode, but it's interesting because you also see them using their children as sort of the pawns, where all the people in the back that are actually controlling it are making these decisions, but everyone that is actually doing the work are like Soletta and Guel. And I think that's pretty interesting.
Yep. Classic labor exploitation.
Yeah, and of course, Guel is going to be the one dueling Soletta, and Soletta obviously wins, but it's actually pretty interesting during this part, because Guel, this is where you kind of start to see a little bit more in-depth on Guel's character. So, Guel believes he's the best pilot in the world, and he might be, but him having, like, they make AI pilot his robot, which is much faster than him, but it doesn't make like the most aggressive decisions, and it's easy to predict. And he kind of feels bad that they don't even believe that he can win this duel. And of course, Soletta does win. I really liked this episode. It was interesting seeing some of that more sneaky bastardry that we see. Like they have the fire suppressant come on, which makes it so that Ariel's beam weapons don't work, and Ariel is almost entirely a beam weapon based Gundam, while Guel's suit, which is called, has a funny name. It's like the Daro Balde, which is like has a big ass axe. It's cool. It's neat. But I also like it because you get to see a little bit into Soletta's character. She is hella anxious. She talks about how she makes a list of what she wants to do coming to school for the first time, and she has a list of like going on dates, like staying up late, making new friends, telling jokes, and making everyone laugh, because she's been reclusive her whole life. I've seen some people who have been on the autism spectrum who really, really relate to the way that Soletta acts, and I think that's neat.
Yeah, I feel is very, very accurate, right? Like even like, you know, she'll kind of do raptor hands sometimes, and in general, just like it's been one of these kind of like Mob from Mob Psycho 100, which has been like, although not confirmed, so much of it lines up that it's just been a total community acceptance of that, and just like just such a positive force. Very exciting.
Yeah. But what's really neat is seeing the way that she interacts with people and how she duels. I do think one of my favorite jokes in here is when she finds out she's going to duel again, and Guel is like, it's going to be me, and she goes, oh, thank goodness it's you. Because, like, she's not trying to be mean, but, like, she's just like, I don't want to duel anyone. What if I lose? And Guel's like, it's me, and she goes, oh, thank goodness, I don't need to worry about this.
Yeah.
It's very funny. But the way that she acts while she pilots is completely different. She has a ton of confidence. She's very assured of herself. And I think it's really neat to see someone who has this anxiety being in different like settings, having a place where there is like this comfort. And I think it's shown really well in this episode.
Yeah. Would you say she goes into a hyper focus when she's piloting?
Probably. It's also, you know, there's a book about what happens on Mercury that I read a synopsis. I think it's not officially released in English, and it's only been fan translated, but I could be wrong. I have not been able to find a copy of it, but I'll talk about that after we're done talking about episodes. So
I do have to ask too, are we to the part yet? I forget where this happens. Are we to the part yet where Guel proposes to Soletta?
Yes, this is that episode. Good. At the end, once Soletta once again beats Guel, he proposes to her because Soletta shows him like a minuscule amount of niceness. It is like they come out of their mechs, and Soletta's like, "Hey, you did really good. I'm really impressed with your piloting skills." And Guel immediately
just takes a knee.
Tries. Yeah, it's just like, man, I can't believe this is what it's like to have someone who's nice to me.
Have you ever been outplayed so hard you fall in love with someone and grow respect for women? Like, what a champ.
And we see Guel probably has the best character development in this show. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But in the next one, we get introduced to Earth House a little bit more. We've seen some members of Earth House. You've seen Nika, who is their mechanic. But here we get some pretty fun interactions with my favorite character, Chuathuri Pan Lunch, or Choo Choo. And so, which is, as far as we know, named after the monkey from Revolutionary Girl Utena. We should probably preface this that this is very Revolutionary Girl Utena.
So you say.
And the
we'll
like the basic concept, right?
There are surface level bits and pieces. We will discuss this when we're all done with the show. I promise.
And the guy that is writing the show wrote the light novel adaptations of Utena. I'm not saying that is a 1-to-1 retelling, but it definitely has some Utena DNA. Not a ton, but it does.
DNA is a good way to put it. Continue.
But Choo Choo is absolutely a reference to the monkey.
Yeah.
Just the big ass hair, the same name with that looks like the ears of the monkey. It's great. I love Choo Choo.
Choo Choo is a friend.
Yes. And so we find out that like Earth House is being sabotaged during their piloting tests because Guel's little posse is manipulating them. And so Choo Choo comes out and is just talking about how she hates the Spacians, and Soletta asks Earth House to help her because they are also getting sabotaged by Guel's little posse. And so they take a makeup test, and once again the same bullies do the same thing. And they have Soletta run it over and over and over again, and she just can't do it. And Soletta just breaks down, and it's a really good emotional moment, which also is how Choo Choo feels, because she goes up to the people that are blinding their robots and just beats the shit out of her. It's very good.
Excellent stance. Like
it is a good punch.
Everyone was very quick to analyze what a good punch it was.
The stance is good.
Plant those feet, swing those hit, like boom. You're like, oh.
It's very good. It's not in slow motion. There's no anime like follow the fist into the face. It just happens, and it's so fucking good.
Drops like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, someone pointed out that we never see that girl again.
Killed this fucking goopster.
Choo Choo. Choo Choo killed a person in episode 4, and people were not like talking about it. But it's great. It's fun. And then Soletta joins Earth House, even though Soletta is technically Spacian. But as far as we know, Mercury is kind of like a backwater planet to live on.
Yeah, it does seem like there's a disrespect for Mercury compared to other planets, and like what it socioeconomically gets used for.
They basically call Soletta a rube a few times, where they're just like, hey, you're just a backwater person.
Remember, everyone,
a country bumpkin.
Yeah, remember, everyone, race is a social construct.
Soletta is technically a Spacian, but she joins Earth House. And Earth House is sort of they don't have a ton of money. They have like a farm. I don't know why they have a farm, but they do. But it's good. All the people in the Earth House, I'll go quickly over them because they're going to be important. But you have in Earth House, you have Nika Nanura, who is she's Earthian, and she is the mechanic. You have Choo Choo, who is their pilot. You have Martin, who is their management. Nuno, who is their mechanical department. She's also mechanics. I think it's she. Oh no is the guy with the beanie. So you have a couple mechanics on their team, but Nika is sort of their
upperclassmen,
Nika,
their kohai.
Yeah, yeah. And then you have Till, Lilik, and Aliyah. So Lilik is management, and then Aliyah is the third year mechanical department. Aliyah's interesting because she doesn't talk much, she doesn't do much, but she does read Soletta's fortune at one time in the next episode, and mentions a sibling. Because she's like sort of like into like divination and stuff, and so it's interesting. We don't know too much about it, but
knowing this show and how it tells stories, that is 100% a bullet in the chamber of Chekhov's gun right there.
yes. And then I forgot to mention Martin is very close with Nika. Whenever Nika goes out and does something, Martin is normally there as well. He's sort of like this anxious dude.
Yeah. Also, love. Everybody loves Lilik. Like in the show too.
Yes. Yes. She's very popular among like. Apparently, like there people ask her out a lot. Like she's just very popular. And she just does not give them the time of day, and it does cause some drama later down the line, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, for once we have like a fat character who is not attributed to like, oh, this is the one who enjoys snacks, right? Like,
yeah,
I love me some Little Witch Academia, but like, come on, there's a character,
right?
Anyways, yes, that's our Earth House crew.
And they're great. Earth House supports the homies.
They're solid.
They're great. And so as Soletta joins Earth House, though, it does kind of put a target on their head because now they have what is considerably the best pilot with the best mobile suit in the school. And so we start getting into Peel Technologies pilot, which is Ellen, who is this sort of emotionless, monotone guy who is trying to figure a little bit more about Ariel. And he did, I forgot to mention this, he did bring Soletta food when she was in prison. And Soletta likes him. She wants to go on a date with him. And she finds him very friendly. But during this time, Alon challenges Guel to a duel and just beats the shit out of him, basically cementing Guel's fate and losing his reputation, because not only can he not beat Soletta, he just can't beat anyone at this point. And then he challenges Soletta to take Ariel, because he now knows that Ariel is a Gundam. And the reason that he knows that Ariel is a Gundam is because he also has a Gundam. Not a mobile suit, but a Gundam.
But shh, don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody. Just kidding. You can tell people, because the PL Technologies basically says, yeah, we'll pay the fine for using a Gundam in like the next episode.
Yeah, capitalism is amazing.
So this is kind of where the show gets whack and where people start getting a little confused, not confused, but where the theories start coming out. Because we meet a woman by the name of Belmeria Winston from Overwatch, and Belmeria admits like she used to work for Vanidus, and she started working with PL, and she meets Prosper, and she's like, are you still looking for revenge from what happened 21 years ago? Which throws a whole wrench into the timeline of everything, because if Soletta is 17, then the Vanidus incident, in which everyone got murdered, couldn't have happened 21 years ago, because Eri was 4. But it also could be a different incident. It could be something that people don't know about, right? They might not know that the Vanidus incident is the one in which a bunch of people got murdered.
It could be that Soletta is now especially confirmed as being a sister to someone, right? Like, Who
Yes.
knows?
And Prospero refers to Ariel, the Gundam, as her daughter constantly.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some other things that might suggest otherwise, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And so, they do a little match in space, and Nika builds a jetpack for Ariel. And boy, oh boy, we don't know how she did that, but we do know that she somehow is talking with Shadik, who is one of the Benneret. Sorry, what's their term? Benneret. Yeah, he's the pilot for
Grassley
the Grassley group, which is where the one guy from the prologue. There's a lot of names. Zanelli. So Shadik Zanelli is talking with Nika at this time, and so Ellen loses, and he loses during this time because he thought he got Ariel, but Ariel's gun bits protect her, and during this time the gun bits make a ghostly images of children, which could be Eri, which is really weird coming from the episode in which we find out that the Vanitas incident happened 21 years ago, but it's we're not sure. Soletta wins, and then Ellen is like, hey, you know, it's my birthday and you were nice to me, and then they say they will celebrate the birthday together, and then you find out that Ellen is not actually the real Ellen. He is a body double, and PL technology uses body doubles in replace of Ellen, the real one, and since he failed, they kill him. It's really, really sad.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to mention
and it also,
why it's especially sad?
How about you do? Because there's a lot of things.
She goes searching for Elon and can't find him, and so she basically buzzes in and broadcasts a message trying to reach him. And so you get to hear Suletta sing happy birthday to Elon.
Oh, and then Elon sings happy birthday to himself.
Oh, am I getting those two? I'm getting those flipped.
Yeah, no. Soletta does do that.
She does that when she break into find him the first time or whatever, but then...
Yes. But then he sings it to himself. And then it's also a parallel because the Vanitas incident in which everybody died and Vanitas was Aries' birthday, and Nadim died singing happy birthday as well. Mm-hmm. It's just not a good time to sing happy birthday in the show.
Yeah.
And so as that happens, as Soletta comes out victorious once again, we go to a startup party by the Benneret group where people are trying to get money to fund them. And the original Elon comes in and is like, hey, Soletta, sorry about missing our date. And he's totally different. He's not the same person. And she kind of feels that way. And so the PL groups basically say, hey, we know that Ariel is a Gundam because our Gundam reacted to their Gundam. And so we will scrap our Gundam, but you have to scrap Ariel. And Mirane is like, hey, I'm gonna start a new company called Gundam Inc. to research the safe way to use a Gundam. And she fails to get investment. Nobody wants to do that. And so she begs her dad, who is a bastard, but her dad does care about her, and they get funding. So now they have a company called Gundam Inc. And also, during this time, Prospera basically tells Soletta, yeah, Ariel's a Gundam, I lied to you. And here's one of the theories that people start talking about, is that Soletta always talks about you either move forward and gain 2 or retreat and gain 1, which is the idea of if you move forward, you have the ability to gain 2 like benefits. Mm-hmm. And if you retreat, you always gain 1 benefit, which is that you can come back and do it again. And it's interesting because during this time, Prospera says that to Soletta, and it makes her really clumsy for a little bit. But that we'll talk about that later. But also in this one, Nika talks to Shadik about how she's happy that he helped her get the jetpack for Ariel during the last fight, because she has connections with terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact. So that episode's fine. Let's kind of stop here right here. I want to know some of your opinions on these past few episodes.
I think they're solid. I like them a lot. Again, I feel like they do a good job of taking what could be a very played out sort of school-based plot, and kind of like proves to you what it's capable of. I think it's a really strong showing. And like this partially might be influenced by rewatching some of the early episodes, like when showing Witch from Mercury to other people. But I feel like that first half, that front half of the episodes is very like clear in my mind for the most part, right? Like I think I remember them more almost than the more recent episodes. Yes, very interesting. I think that also might be because we're not into some of the more complicating factors yet. For the most part, like, say interactions with Guel are not very mysterious. It's more about the juiciness of the character interaction and, how, it's like what's going on with this character, what am I learning about in terms of their backstory and their trajectory. And so that works really well for me. I have some broad thoughts on the show that I'm going to wait till the very end to talk about, because I don't think it's like quite the time to bring that up. But yes, like overall solid. I really don't have hardly any notes that I can provide on like what I would want different here.
Yeah, I think the slow realization that a lot of the characters that you've been introduced have these secrets that you're not privy on. Mm-hmm. Is really, really interesting way to do it. I find a lot of media tends to front load a lot of those secrets so that the audience knows, which kind of helps, some of that dramatic irony. Mm-hmm. But this right here is one of the reasons why I love this show, where you find out that Nika's interacting with Shadiq for something, and she's thanking him for something. We find out that Ferrecht has been basically breaking the law just to make sure that Ariel gets scrapped. You find out that they are, for some reason, making sure that whoever is Elan is a body double, not the actual one. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on.
Yeah. I guess I'll say this. The A plots of these episodes are really strong, and the B plots are, or maybe C, whatever, they're sprinkling in these details lightly enough that it's not start and stop, right? But you're getting that density of information in a pretty comfortable way. So,
right. I actually think the next 3 episodes are some of the strongest ones. Is when they try and make Gundam into a company. Mm-hmm. I really like this for a couple reasons. One, it's so amateurish, it's funny. Mm-hmm. But like they're teenagers, right? So it's interesting to see them try and sell Ariel and gun technology as not weapons, because they don't want to make weapons. Mm-hmm. They talk about how they don't want Spacians to have access to Gundams because we've already seen that they've been using mobile suits to oppress Earthians. But during this episode, we also see a video of Cardo Nabo, the inventor of the gun format, talking about why she made it, and it's to help humans. And Soletta doesn't recognize her, despite the fact that they interacted with each other on Vanitas. However, once again, if Soletta is Eri, she would have been 4. Mm-hmm. Barely 4. She probably wouldn't have much of a memory of it.
Yeah.
Or at least the person. During this, I think this is the episode where we get the fucking classic line, Suleta wa Suleta.
Yeah.
Which is basically translated to Soletta forgot, or Soletta forgot.
Yeah, what a fucking miracle that not only did they have the, like, a Japanese pun that is critical to, like, Suleta's development, and it's also executed in a very funny way, but it also has a really good English translation into Soletta Forgetta, which is just, it's like, they needed that to work, and it did on every possible direction. It's truly amazing.
Absolutely. super good.
Serendipity,
And so,
right there.
oh, it's perfect. And so because Gundam is having a hard time getting off the ground, Shadik is like, "Hey, why don't I buy into you, and you can join us and the Benneret group." And Mironine. There we go.
No.
Nope.
Miorine.
Miorine is like, "No, fuck that. I want to remain independent." So Shadik challenges them to a multi-person duel. So I believe it's a 6v6, or a 5v5, one of the two. And so Earth House has 2 pilots. And the Zanelli group has a lot more. And so we see that the duels are going to be a 5v5, and it's pretty interesting because during this time Shadik is talking to Mio about like how the duel's gonna go out, and you see that Mio, who has a little greenhouse that she hangs out in and grows tomatoes because her mother was a botanist, has like a stack of tomatoes and then 2 tomatoes separate from each other. And so they do the duel, and since Grassley House has just a ton of really high quality mobile suits, and Earth House has Choo Choo's mobile suit, which is basically it is a trainer, it is a custom trainer mobile suit, and you have Ariel. So you have two specialized mobile suits, and one of them is essentially a Honda Civic with a Gatling gun put on it, and you have Ariel. So they get a bunch of other trainers that aren't as nice as Choo Choo's, and they just get they get the floor wiped right away. Although I will say there is a part where Choo Choo gets her arm ripped off and just picks up her sniper rifle and is going to use it to beat the shit out of someone. And if she doesn't do that in the future, I'm going to be very disappointed. But during this time, Soletta kind of freaks out, but then tells Ariel, because she talks to Ariel, the mobile suit, and she refers to Ariel as her sister, that she's going to be the one that's going to do most of the piloting here. And she absolutely decimates the Grassley team, but she doesn't defeat Shadik, who is able to basically like take out all of Ariel's ability to move, and then Shadik gets all like high and mighty and goes to kill Ariel or beat Ariel by knocking her head off, and then Choo Choo snipes him because that was part of their plan the entire time, which I liked. I really liked it. There's something cool about understanding that you are going into a fight completely unprepared, so you have to play dirty. You also get a really funny interaction with Lilik and one of the Grassley girls who are part of the Grassley like pilots, who's pissed at Lilik because she turned down a guy's advances, which the Grassley pilot thought wasn't good. I thought that was funny. It was very funny. And she had no clue. She's like, "I don't know why you're pissed at me." She's like, "You turned down my man." She's like, "You're not dating him." He's like, "But I can, and I'm mad at you for that." I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun Earth House victory.
Yeah. One thing this episode did for me is finally putting Siletta in the driver's seat, right? I guess that is one thing that I found weak about the first set of episodes, in that first half, is that I was just kind of waiting for like, okay, so when is Siletta gonna start playing the hero, right? Like, and it's like, if they went all the way and didn't do that, then I would also understand. It's like, all right, this is what they're committing to. I just have to reevaluate what the show is trying to say. But you know, if you were someone who got tired of the show because you feel like, oh, Siletta doesn't even do anything. She's like, you know, all of the piloting's being done by this magic AI / like spirit energy in the robot, right? Then don't worry, it does shift. It just takes a while to get there. So
yeah, I think what's really nice about that is there was always a lot of conversations on whether Soletta was a good pilot or if Ariel was a good mobile suit. And their dueling thing does even talk about how the duel's outcome is not necessarily determined by the pilot or the mobile suit. It's by both of them working together.
Yes.
But we don't know the extent that Suletta was piloting. We knew that she was, but we didn't really understand. Mm-hmm. And then in that episode, you see.
Yeah, the gun bits, I think, are one of the things that really kind of make it difficult to want, like, because they make Suletta very powerful, right? And it's hard to imagine that Suletta would be aiming them, right? Like, it's like, oh, the whole point is that they're AI driven or whatever. And so therefore, whenever those things pop out and win the fight, it's kind of like, okay. But again, if that doesn't sort of, fly with you well, then don't worry, that does shift. So if that's something to look forward to, there you go.
And it's dope. It's dope as hell. It's hype as fuck.
This show has the Inspector effect where, like, generally the music is good, but they have the one song that they know kicks ass, and they know when to use it. And so whenever you're in a fight, and then it's the, like, kind of the winning streak, right? They just kick that thing in full force. It's like, all right, are you ready for the song that you like? Here it comes, and wah! There's belt it. So
it's fucking good.
Yep,
it's so good. Yeah. So episode 10 is where it kind of, 9 starts where it's popping off, and then it kind of winds down into the what seems to be preparing for the second core. Also, we do find out Shadiq seemed to have something for Mio, and Mio might have had something for him, but in the end, like, he's like, hey, what if I actually, like, tried to make you to fight for you previously? And she's like, it's too late for that, ya bitch. And so we do get a little bit of a time skip after that episode. It takes a couple of months. Gundam now is becoming pretty known, not super great, but they have. Oh, sorry, this is the episode with Suletta Fregata, because they make an episode. They make the legs.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, the advertisement happened in episode 8, but the legs are.
Oh, that's right. That's
Fregata. And so the smugglers come back to observe Gundam, the ones from the original episode. And Peel gets a new body double for
Elon, yeah.
Elon, I don't know.
Yeah.
And in this kind of episode, and you find out that Guel's been transported, and or he ran away, and he joined a space transport crew, and he is known as Bob. And it fucking was the best time to be a part of the Gundam, the G-Witch, like, discussion community, because everyone started discussing on if Bob and Guel are the same person. So, like, you have these very real theories on whether Eri and Suletta are real, but everyone's just like, wow, this Bob guy seems so loyal. I wonder if he's related to Guel. He can't be, and it's like clearly him. Like, it's very good.
Yeah.
And during this time, you find that Shadiq has a connection to the Dawn of Fold, which is an Earthian terrorist group that Nika also has connections to. And they take over the transport cruise ship during this time. I can't remember if this is the episode. Yes, this is the episode where everything gets real sad for Suletta. Because Suletta's really excited to become part of the group, because she did the Suletta Fregata, and people, like, legitimately laughed at her. Also, during the laughter, Choo Choo just starts hacking and coughing, and I think it's very funny. It's good. It's a good scene. But she gets these little keychains that she wants to give to Mio, and Mio asked her to take care of her tomatoes for her. And when she goes to see if they are being taken care of, she hired someone else to take care of them. Also, Ellen 5 is like, hey, I'll go on a date with you, and Soletta's like, no, I think I want to try actually like dating Mio a little bit, which I think was cute. I thought it was cute, and she turns down Aelin. And so the next episode's pretty sad because basically, since Soletta wasn't able to give Mio these keychains, she starts feeling like everybody doesn't want her around, and like through a series of miscommunications, like her food gets misplaced when they ordered like food for them, so she thinks that they purposely ignored her, or she overhears people talking about something and they think they're talking about her, and she just gets really like anxious about it. And this episode, I think, is very gay. But so Mio's a little upset because Soletta's not talking to her, and she finds her like in the bathroom, like hiding, and you get this zero gravity chase scene, which is incredibly well animated. Apparently, from what I read, the animation team was a little strapped, and so they hired the a movie animation team to do the scene. So it is incredibly smooth. It's well choreographed. It's incredible.
It's noticeably more involved. There's a lot more motion with the camera, and it's like, you know, it's for what is a little like fruity chase scene is ultimately like very dynamic how it's directed and how it plays out. So
people also point out like there's some like very interesting character things, like Suletta is able to like shift her weight in microgravity so that she can change her perspective, while Miorine is not able to, and like runs face first into walls and stuff. Yeah. And I think that's fun. And she only gets to Suletta by basically pretending that she is very tired and very hurt, and then she tackles her. And then she basically tells Suletta that the reason she doesn't want to leave the school anymore is because of her. And she tells her never to run away. It's very sweet. It's very cute. Mm-hmm. What do you think about these past couple episodes?
Finally. I'll admit, like like this show doesn't quite hit me the way it hits I think a lot of people. I can appreciate it and really enjoy it, but it doesn't quite get me fired up in that same way as other shows might do. Like, maybe to flip it, right? I think the way that I feel about Yurei Deco is how a lot of people feel about Witch from Mercury. But these episodes have those moments that like genuinely get me really excited about what's going on. The fact that it goes this long until their, you know, Suletta and Miorine's relationship kind of gets to be front and center again. It simultaneously is like, oh, they're acknowledging it, good for them, and oh, they're acknowledging it, why did you let it go this long? You know, very kind of frustrating, personally speaking. But when it happens, it's good. It's really good. They have a good cry, and it's emotional. It's very intimate, right? Which is like right up my alley. It's not just like you dummy, I love you. You know, it's more than that. It's, you know, they're still clearly like kind of talking in code about how they feel about the relationship, right? You know, Miorine's kind of framing it like, you know, you should be kind of, you know, you're the one who's meant to protect me. You should be, you know, taking care of me, do all this stuff for me. She's basically like giving her task to do to make sure she stays, right? Which is really to say is like, hey, I do value being here.
Right. But we do see that is how Suletta likes to treat people she likes. Mm-hmm. Because when Miorine's took away Soletta's ability to like take care of her tomatoes, right? To Mironine, that's like, I'm doing this because I don't want to burden Soletta, right? Because that's how she sees the relationship. She sees herself as a burden to Soletta, and she doesn't want that. But Soletta sees it as like, I want to be able to be the person that you rely on. And I think there's a really good dynamic. Like, I feel like their confusion of what they mean to each other is really interesting, because it's not just a communication error of one conversation. It is literally the difference between how two people see relationships, which is very real. I really liked that being the catalyst of their problems, and I like that they were able to talk it out.
Yeah, that scene
relatively fast too.
Yes. This scene kind of like lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders in this weird way. Like, I felt lighter after this, kind of like, just knowing that that's still on the plate, that it wasn't just lip service at the beginning, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a really excellent underappreciated Marge episode. Okay.
Yeah, I like it. It kind of, to me, like, one of the things is if this show is going to be a 50 episode Gundam show, right? You do have the time to take the time with the relationships, right? You have the time. But it's nice to confirm that the possibility of it not being just bait and it being like a legitimate, like, romantic connection is nice. It's nice to see that. And so at the end of it, all's well and is good, and everyone goes home happy. Just kidding, the terrorists have arrived. Oh no! And they shoot this space station that that Earth House has gone to, and they are here to kill Delling. And so for the final episode, and their suits they have are the Lifrit Gundam models from Vanadis, and the two pilots are Earth pilots. And so in the last episode, Soletta gets in it kind of shows some stuff, like a lot of stuff. So for one, Soletta is brought to war, right? She watches people die for the first time ever, because even if she is Eri, she was stuck in Lifrit the entire time. But she watches her mom and her mom's assistant kill men in front of her, and she's trying to find a way to go and save Mio so that they don't, because that's what she wants to do. You also have some pretty interesting stuff that happens. Like, for one, the Donna Fold terrorist group are fighting the Delling not Gundam models, mobile suits, and they use ballistic ammo. They don't use beams. And one of the Delling group says something like, "You're polluting space with those bullets. It's against the law to use ballistics." And right before he gets absolutely murked, one of the pilots, whose names are, by the way, Sophie and Noria, basically says, like, "You polluted Earth and left it. Why should I give a shit about space?" And then just murders the shit out of them. But in this part, they are just, like, destroying the hangars so that no one can escape. And they go to destroy the hangar in which Earth House is currently in. And Nika signals to Sophie that she is part of Donna Fold. And Martin sees it. And we don't know how that ends yet, but it is one of the most, like, intense dramatic parts, because they are about to get shot. He sees Nika signal to her, and then he sees the mobile suit leave, and he just goes, "Nika, what the hell did you just do?" And that's it. And I'm so excited to see that unpack, but we're not there yet. And so after Soletta sees Prospera kill some men, she's like, "Why did you do that?" And Prospera says, "Oh, you see, you got to move forward to gain 2. And at that time, Soletta, like, stands up, steps in the dude's blood, gets an aerial, and just starts going to town. She doesn't kill any of the terrorists. They manage to get away, but she clearly beats them. Like, it's not even close to a fight. When they try and, like, raise their permit score to become more in tune with their Gundam, they start freaking out and having a hard time. And you see that pretty consistently throughout the show. Whenever someone increases their permit score, They breathe harder. You see these like lines start to develop in their skin. But when Soletta does it, it doesn't seem to impact her anyway. And so, they don't stand a chance, so they leave. But now she needs to go save Mio.
Yeah.
And so and everybody knows the scene. Everybody fucking knows the scene. She breaks into the space station and just turns a guy into tomato juice by smashing him with Ariel's hand. And Miarines basically says, you just killed them and you're smiling. And then the show ends and G-Witch Core 1 is over.
Yep.
Fucking good shit. I love G-Witch. I think part of me has been so starved for political thrillers or like slow burn action anime for forever, because every anime that comes out right now is mostly going to be these 12 episode you get quick to the action, quick to the finale, and then maybe a season 2, who knows. But I think this show, knowing it at least has 25 episodes, is able to do this build up in a way that just makes these moments so much more impactful.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's really strong, right? Like, this is like not just in like, oh, the production values are great. It's a good looking show. It's well animated. It's well acted. It's good. No, it's very good, right? It's for how much they're trying to do with this show. Like that, sticks the landing. I really honestly believe that. Also, I'm a hater. Get ready for this. No, okay.
Brantley puts the hater hat on.
Yeah.
It's a fedora.
No, don't do this to me. I want to live. Look, like, I do have issues with this show. They are nitpicky, and they're very, like, they're personal experience based. If there's anything holding me back from liking this show, then I'm gonna try to lay out those things. Not to try to convince anyone of, like, hey, you should also feel this way. But just to, like, I don't know, I'm airing out dirty laundry in a way. I don't gel really well with the pacing of this show, as mentioned with, like, the with Suletta and Miorine finally, like, getting back to the romance, right? This show has an interesting way of, like, spreading out information. The best way I can try to visualize it is it's sort of like using a stack, where whenever there's, like, some new lead or some new mystery, then they put it down and they stack it, right? And then some new other thing comes up and they stack that as well. The way that they, reveal information always has this deliberate delay to it, where they want you to kind of forget that it's a thing, but not entirely. They want you to lose it out of your, like, working memory, but not so far that you entirely forgot it was a part of the show, right? So that the moment you're like, hey, when are they going to bring this up again, is when they pop it off. And so they're stacking things and stacking things and stacking things, and then after some delay of time, they're taking things out of the bottom of the stack, right? And so it's like, oh, here's this thing we haven't heard about in a while, right? There's very rarely a time where you'll just learn something new and immediately kind of, get your answers to it. And so for me, the show gets a little exhausting. Whenever some new mystery comes up, I kind of disengage a little bit, because it's like, okay, well, this is not going to come up for a while, and, at my experience, like, 10 episodes deep, I have not been good at keeping track of, like, like, I wasn't ever ahead of the curve. So it's like, well, I've resigned to my fate, right? I'm going to wait until this thing goes long enough, and then we're going to get the answer to it. I think this was, like, solidified for me near the end of the show, when like, well, there were times where I think we were like, hey, when are we gonna see, like, Guel again? And then Guel is here, right? It's like, oh, I don't know if it bothers me because it feels like it's so well formulated that it's, like, inauthentic, almost like I feel like I've been focus grouped or something. I'm not sure if it's that or if it's just that the experience of how the information gets doled out is kind of annoying to me. But yeah, there are some weird bumps here and there too. By the way, we did watch this week to week, so maybe the experience is different if you're watching it right in a row. But again, when a week goes by and it's like, for example, the romantic aspect, right? We're like going weeks deep, and it's like we have not developed Suletta and Miorine's chemistry hardly at all. That starts to get on my nerves, especially because the parts that I care about the show kind of maybe are like more so in that delayed stack. We had a moment where Bob like an episode ends with like the terrorist crew taking over.
Fuck, I totally forgot.
I didn't.
About
this part bothers me.
No. I forgot about the part about where Guel killed his dad.
Oh shit, I did too. He did that.
In episode 12, Guel's dad, Vim Jeter, gets in a mobile suit to fight off the terrorists, and Guel stole a terrorist mobile suit, and Guel's dad is basically just trying to kill him because they can't intercept. And Guel says, "I'm not gonna die here, I'm gonna live," and he just takes a fucking beam knife and stabs his dad's mobile suit and blows the shit up out of him. And his dad is weirdly okay with it. Like, he's been a shit father for like the entire a shit father for the entire thing. But as he's dying, he's like, "My boy, I'm so glad you're alive." And he's like, "Get into my mobile suit. I can protect you." And his dad's like, "I just wanted to make sure that you were still alive." And then he like dies, and it's like horrible. It's pretty interesting to see like Guel and Suletta, who I think a lot of the next obviously Suletta, but I think they're going to be some of the more important characters here. I think seeing how they both reacted to their first kills is interesting. Yeah. But we'll talk about that when we talk about themes. Sorry to interrupt you.
It's all good. I think there's some parts of the show like that too, where it's like it's so on the nose. It's like, oh, Guel, kills his dad, and that, clearly has a lot of pent up meaning for his character. But it almost feels a little overwrought. It's not like I would want something else to replace it. Like, I honestly think it's just me kind of, for some reason, not really like clicking with it. But yeah.
It's because you've never had to kill your dad in mech combat before. I get it, you can't relate, but like for those of us that have had to kill their dad in mech comic before, it's pretty spot on to the experience.
I think I'm a little tired of like bad dads in mechs, like having the very last like moment of their death throw be like apologetic, like. It may, like, I don't know if it's because the trope, and that bothers me, or if it's just because I've seen it enough, and it hasn't warped back around to, oh, I love this trope, but this happens with Jeddirk, and it happens with Delling, and, like...
But Delling's not dead.
No, he's not, but he starts to have that, like, turnaround moment. And both of these are characters that for, like, from setup in the prologue and throughout the development of the show, it's like, I am not done considering these characters bastards. Like, I don't feel sympathetic towards them, and I'm kind of don't care that you're trying to sympathize them in this moment.
It is interesting. I have my theories on that. We'll talk about that in a bit.
And like I acknowledge, right, like, in this show we're dealing with Suletta and Miorine in the confines of what they have experienced, right? Obviously, they don't have the dramatic irony to understand that Delling is supposed to clearly be a bastard, right? It's just that he's a bad dad to Miorine. That's what she, as a lived teenager, knows the extent of, right?
Yes.
She's still playing in his rules, right? And this has a thematic thing I'll mention a little bit later. But ultimately, like, I guess, like, moments like that, I know they're supposed to hit, and they 100% don't for me. They hit for the shock value, but they don't at all like like they're playing the strings, and I'm like, just shut up. Let's see. But back to Bob, right? Like when his crew gets hijacked, the episode ends, and this was one time where we actually did get to watch episodes back to back because we had waited some time before getting back to watching the show. And so we fire up the next episode, and we're just with the Earthian crew as they're like on the way to the station, and we're like legitimately thinking like, did we miss something? Like did we accidentally like skip an episode? Because they've taken Bob and they've put Bob on the stack, right? And now it's like, all right, set your stopwatch for when we're going to see him again, right? Really, it's the flow of the show is just kind of weird to me. And in some ways I feel like watching it back to back would be worse. Because you don't get any gratification on, like, for example, hey, terrorist crew just took Bob hostage. Now wait a moment. And by a moment we mean like quite a long time before you see him again.
A whole episode.
Yeah. It's weird. There are just times where I'm just prickly, just gone with it, right? And this comes from someone from me who normally I like unorthodox things, right? I like unorthodox storytelling, but for this case, it was maybe too long-winded, or maybe I was just worn down, but it just was not working for me.
Yep, I get you.
Yeah.
Get you.
Now for the elephant in the room, or maybe I should say the the monkey in the room. Revolutionary Girl Utena is a show I very much like, and this show I don't like as much as that, and therefore I'm biased, but whatever. The fact that people were quick to make the call-outs to, hey, this is Utena but Gundam, I think kind of fucked up my enjoyment of the show. Because I get it, right? Like, and to tell you that I get it, I'm going to try to list off a bunch of these surface level connections, right? Like, yeah, I get it. Like, there's duels for arranged marriage, right? Like, contractually. Yes, there's, Sayonji, aka Guel, off the bat, the guy who doesn't respect the situation but is playing it into it anyways, for partially because he's been what's the word, groomed into doing so, and thinking that's the right thing to do, and also because he's kind of a dumbass and doesn't respect women, right? I get it. Here's this girl who's being bullied by her classmates, and yes, she has a garden, and yes, all these duels are taking place underneath these technological projections, right? And yes, here comes our protagonist to step in and rescue her, and she's going to have to rethink what her relationship is, to only reduce her as an object as well as all of her previous suitors. Yes, the daughter in this case, slash, whoever, she's indebted, but she doesn't return any believable affection at first until eventually it does become something. Yes, Choo Choo is fucking there. I get it. But all of that stuff is surface level, right? It's Utena names and places in trivia, right? It's Utena fucking 20 questions. And I don't care. That to me is not Utena. Utena is not its parts. It's the sum of it, right? And when it gets to comparing the shows after that, they don't relate at all to me.
Nope.
Utena is a show that's very surreal. It's got its strange little bubble that, it refuses to explain how this world fits in on planet Earth, right? It's weird, it's absurd, it's, open for interpretation.
Allegory.
Yeah, allegory, or allegoriist, right? It's so... I don't actually believe this, but right, it's Utena is that pretentious shit, right? It's that shit I love. It's that
Absolutely.
postmodern shit. Whatever. This show is not that in format. You know, Mobile Suit Gundam Witch from Mercury is, in comparison, very straightforward. There are mysteries to solve, but we are certain that they have answers, and they are choreographed to have answers. Right? You're addicted to the show because you want to know what the answer is. You know, in Utena, you kind of get used to not having answers, or you drop it. Whereas in this show, they are doling you out little bits of information. If you watch the prologue, it's instant, right? It's like, oh, you're making these assumptions about, here's Prospera, I know her. Here's Suletta, I know her. Here's Delling, I know him, right? And some of these are true and some of them are false, and that's where the intrigue kicks in. But it's a different way of going about it than an Utena type of thing. They have different themes. They have different, ways of going about it. The way that they focus on their themes is very different. Utena is very laser focused on love, right? Like, yes, you're going to see things like class depicted and nobility and stuff like that, but like, very rarely is anyone going to talk about money in Utena. Rarely are you going to hear anyone talk about brands aside from the stupid cowbell bit. Like, no, I didn't call it stupid. Just edit that out, Brantley.
I was gonna say, that's some harsh words coming from you about that episode.
Part. It's great. I love it. But it's very, very different. Maybe Utena was an inspiration, but to call them similar feels like totally wrong, right?
I think it's a disservice to both of them.
Yes, I think that this kind of thinking is responsible for thousands and thousands of terrible anime recommendations, where people will say, oh, you liked this? Well, then you would like that, because on some surface level they have those components that are similar, right? It's like, oh, if you like Boku no Hero Academia because it features a protagonist who tries to smile through the toughest moments, then you would like Fire Force because that same plot point happens there, right? Like, I don't dig that. That's never worked for me. And between the two, I like Utena more. It's more my style. And it took some getting used to like Utena that way, but here I am. And so I think that kind of immediately dampened things. And yes, the romance didn't quite hit for me. Like, believe me, I am all for Yuri of Absence. Like, Iori Miyazawa can talk about Yuri being this transcendental thing, and I'm 100% there for that. But I know what kind of show Gundam is now, right? It's not a show that is willing to compromise its themes by putting them up for infinite interpretation, right? It does want to give you an answer. It does want to tell a story and have a moral. And as a result, when I know the characters are being like delayed on their romantic aspects, all I can feel from that is, okay, they have to bench it, right? We have other things in the plot that are more important for the viewer to know right now, and so in the sorting of events and information and still trying to make it all feel compelling with the absolute boatload of things that they're trying to achieve, which again is impressive, because of that, the romance stuff gets sidelined. And for how much people were hyping up, oh, it's a gay show, and how much we still hype up, oh, it's a gay show. Yes, but very mildly, in a LaCroix taste kind of way, to me.
Don't talk shit.
No, I'm not. Look, you can like seltzer water, but I'm just saying that it's an allegory. Allegory is fuck me.
See, the problem is that you think that some people think that Gundam Witch from Mercury is like Utena. In reality, Gundam Witch from Mercury is The Tempest by William Shakespeare. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? Have I told you this?
No. Are we?
Okay.
Do you? You know what? Just go for it. Just go.
All right.
Indulge me.
So one of the very first things that someone pointed out in the Gundam Witch from Mercury is how like The Tempest it is. First off, main kind of guy in the Tempest, his name is Prospero.
Okay.
Lady Prospero, right? So Prospero was a Duke of Milan who escaped an assassination attempt with his daughter, who was too young to understand anything. So he goes to an island with very few inhabitants and becomes its ruler. He is a literal wizard. And so his daughter being a recluse was super awkward. And so he wants revenge on the king of Naples, who's the one that started the assassination attempts. And so he uses his daughter to get engaged to the son of the king so that she can kill the king. And he has a little fairy servant named Ariel, who is very important to him. And so Lady Prospera, survived the Vanitas incident, went to Mercury, which is a backwater planet. The Gundam pilots are witches, not wizards, but witches. Has an anxious daughter who she wants to get engaged to the daughter of her rival, and uses her Gundam, Ariel, to do so.
So what you're telling me is that the writers of this show were like, history? How about her story?
Exactly. No, I don't think that it's going to exactly... obviously, it's not the Tempest, right? But
just like it's not
there's some... Utena. But there's definitely some clear inspirations, right? Like, it's at least a parallel to Prospero's whole shtick. Which actually leads me into why I think that Delling is a more interesting character than just bad dad who gets redeemed. I think, the way that I look at it, Prospera seems to at least have been a good mother to Soletta growing up, right? Soletta looks at Prospera and she sees a mother that she can call and get comforted by, right? Which she does. Prospera is not a good person. But she is manipulating Soletta into believing that she is a good person to the point where she might have brainwashed her, since we do see some really weird stuff with Soletta, the 2 steps forward, one
conditioning that,
Right, we see her do some pretty significant change. I think that her and Delling are supposed to represent these kind of 2 sides of bad parenting. So, like, Prospera is manipulative, but is a nice mom, but a bad person. I think that Delling is a bad person and a bad dad, but I think his care for his daughter and the people he's with is legitimate. I think he does see the Gundam Corporation or Gundam in general as a bad thing, right? I think he is legitimately scared of it and believes that it would be best if it was taken care of. I think he is a terrible person, but I think he's supposed to kind of parallel why Prospera is a terrible person, right? Yeah. Where he does do good things for his daughter because he cares for her. And I don't think he ever really didn't care for her. I think making her the prize to win in a duel was a little odd, but I think that him being that way is important for the way that we look at Prospera.
You could interpolate that he devalues himself so much as a father that he is like, well, like anyone else should be taking care of her,
right? Which
is just Evangelion.
Right. But no, and I kind of look at like Guel's dad Vim. He's just kind of a shitty person, right? I don't think he's redeemable in any sake of the word, but I think that's kind of his point, is that like he is so confident in his ability. Like, we talked about this while we were watching it. That dude just has L's after L's after L's. None of his plans go right. And I think the entire purpose is that, like, he's always been shitty, and even though he might have had some semblance of care for his son on his deathbed, he served his purpose. His purpose was to make Guel a better person, and the only way that he could be removed is if he died. He is shitty. I don't like that they redeemed him, but I kind of feel like that's more realistic than him just like talking shit to his son before he died. A lot of people get sentimental when they die. And I like that. I like seeing these parental figures kind of, you get to see how they've impacted their kids, who are making who are the protagonists of the show. And I think that's why I'm not super like miffed that like Delling is like talking nicely to Mio as he's dying. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that he lived.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that Prospera's end goal is definitely not to kill Delling. She wants something else because she could have. There are multiple times where she could have allowed Delling's death, right? But she chose not to. And I think there's some more stuff we're looking at, and I'm excited to see what it is. Other characters I want to talk about. Shadik. I like him. I like that he is. He has his shirt open. I think that's really good.
But for real, no, he is interesting as a charismatic kind of like, you know, character.
I like that the Grassley Institution uses him as like this kind of like playboy, like hot guy, and they market that. I like that the Grassley girls all have their own fan club, and he is the head of this, but he is not that kind of person. You can see that he truly only believes, like, he looks at himself as wanting to do whatever it takes to have the power that he wants, right? Like, he cared for Mio, but the moment that he realized that he couldn't have Mio anymore, he contacted his terrorist cell and told them to kill her. Or at least Delling. I think there was something where he found out that Mio is on the ship, and he said, well, let's hope that she lives. Like, he didn't really give a shit if she died or lived.
Yeah, just to backpedal a little bit, I do want to reaffirm, like, even though this is a very kind of utilitarian, like, style of plot telling and stuff, compared to the infinite expanse of bullshit that I sometimes like out of shows, it's very, very, very good at utilitarian storytelling, right? Like, the idea that everything has a purpose, and as you mentioned, there are certain things juxtaposed to make characters stand out in contrast and emphasize certain things, right? Like, this is all very well crafted. So, you know, I want to make sure that impression gets across.
Yes, I know you do. Like, I don't think you're.
It's okay. I'm talking to the audience.
Okay. And yeah, so I think that moving forward, this show has perfectly set up exactly what I want going into the second core. I'm interested to see how Nika and Martin's relationship goes with her being connected to this terrorist cell. I like that the Dawn of Fold exists. I don't really see them as the bad guys yet. And I don't think you're supposed to. And that's kind of a classic Gundam thing, right? Where war is hell and both sides are doing what they need to do because shit sucks.
Right.
So what are some of your theories going forward into the second core? Like,
I don't know. I don't really have too many predictions. Like, thematically speaking, I feel like if there's one impression I've gotten, especially you mentioned, like, say, like, you know, Prospera is not, you know, killing Delling. Delling is living on. You know, things like that. There's a quote it makes me think of from Audre Lorde, and from Sister Outsider, which is a collection of her essays and speeches. So, it goes, "The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house." I think it's variations of this quote, I'm sure, are very popular. And that's kind of, I guess, what I'm expecting out of Second Core, is that we're going to have people operating within the constraints that they have, but attempting to sort of either collapse or unfurl things from the inside, right?
Right.
I'm not entirely certain that they'll do a whole, like, kind of rebellion leap and just kind of, like, you know, eject themselves out of this whole school environment we've had so far, and then they go rogue or something. I don't get the impression that that's going to happen. Instead, I feel like we're going to keep this relatively on the ground, right, with the characters knowing what they know. We're going to get some things that unfold, but I don't think it's going to go like full on, like rebel escapist fight the power kind of thing. I think we're going to get more political intrigue. I think we're going to, obviously we're going to get answers on things, but I also think they're going to use this as a bit of a pressure release, where they get to start over and slow down a bit. Suletta and Miorine are going to have a wedge between them for a little while. Suletta's probably going to bounce back first, and there's probably here's my little point to the stands moment. I think that Suletta is going to try to comfort Miorine and like go in for like an I will protect you kiss, and then Miorine is going to block it or like push her away or something. And then only later at the end of the season, when they've made up and they've gotten back on track and everything, Miorine is going to be the one to kiss Suletta for the real deal or something. I don't know, but that's like really kind of the extent of what I'm predicting. I don't think this is the kind of show where they're gonna like, oh, let's undo capitalism, right? I don't think this is their intent. I think we're going to get more moments to demonstrate, like, hey, look, here's how the ruthlessness of capitalism is being conveyed through the ruthlessness of these characters. Here's how you get to get away with bullshit because you have money. Here's all these clandestine things that we're pulling strings on, because we're in this corporate layer and that kind of stuff. We have a lot of things that we still don't have clarity with, such as like literal cloned characters. And I guess I'll take one step back. I feel like there might be things that we don't get answers on. Cloning being one of them. I wouldn't be like surprised or especially upset if they just said, no, just enough that Elon is someone who was being cloned. And that's what you get out of it, right? Like, I almost kind of wonder if there are plot points that they will just hardcore drop and just say, well, it served its purpose to sort of confuse and amaze you, and now we're going to move on. But that's the extent of it. What are you going to point to the stands on, Grant?
So it depends on what happens. Mm-hmm. So most Gundam shows have 50 episodes. Mm-hmm. It is unlikely that this show won't be one of the few that don't have 50 episodes, because some of them don't. Mm-hmm. But when Iron Blood Orphans got its second season, it was not announced until the second core was almost finished. So we have to think about the timeline depending on if there are going to be 24 or 25 episodes or 50 mm-hmm. episodes. So I have two thoughts. One is, based off of the book, we know a couple things. Ariel can think. Ariel is sentient. Ariel knows that she is a machine. Ariel refers to Suletta as her sister. We know that Suletta is the best pilot and she has completed almost every single scenario, except the only person that has been able to beat her scores is Prospera. So we know Prospera is also a good pilot. These are just some things that I'm letting you know going forward, right? I think that based off of some of the like music videos and some of the concept arts, I am starting to believe that Suletta is not Eri. I, for the longest time, was absolutely 100% sure Suletta was Eri. I'm starting to have my doubts. Yeah. That being said, I don't know if that means that Eri is 100% in Ariel. I do find it interesting that we are seeing this body double face reconstruction stuff going on with Ellen. I don't think that doesn't have nothing to do with what's possible. I think Suletta is biologically the same as Eri. I think she might be a clone, but I don't think it is going to be like 100% I took my daughter, shoved her in a machine, and created a clone of her.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a little bit more, like, sadness with it. I could see, like, maybe Eri wasn't able to do the permit scores like Soletta can. And so she might have had, like, some negative repercussions. Because we do see the blue lines and Eri's face during the prologue. So maybe she didn't die necessarily of these problems, but instead was kind of melded with Ariel's AI in sort of a semi, I am partially Eri, partially my own person with Ariel. I do think if there are going to be 50 episodes, we will see an Earthian rebellion. And I do believe that Earthhouse will fight against the Barrett group. I think that with those 50 episodes, that gives plenty of time to kind of do the deconstruction of society in a way that allows for war to happen. I feel like we'll get a little bit more Donna Fold. I actually think if we do get a second season completely, we'll get another prologue. And that prologue will focus on Mio's mom. And we'll see a little bit about that. That way we can get a little bit more. I feel like we'll do another flashback prologue into the second season.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because without it, you wouldn't get 50 episodes. You'd get 49. So I could see that happening.
Yeah.
And then I believe if anyone's gonna die, is gonna be Guel. Guel's gonna die so hard. I just feel like he has such a good, like, redemption arc, and, like, I know it's a trope, but if anyone's gonna make the noble sacrifice, it's gonna be Guel. Some other interesting tidbits that I have. I know that shit, I literally had it in my mind, and we're gonna see Choo Choo get her own mobile suit. We've already seen some gunpla of some mobile suits that we haven't seen that look a lot like mass-produced Lifrit units, so I could see that becoming a thing. I do believe that there is going to be kind of a falling out with Soletta and Mio. I think we're going to see Prospera. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know where her character is going to go. I think that it's possible that she does die, but in, like, I regret everything I did, because I basically caused my child to become a soldier and I wasn't ready for that. Or she's going to go down as, like, a huge major antagonist. I cannot see either way. I feel like Tills, who is the white-haired guy on Earthhouse that was the commanding officer to snipe Shadik's little headdress thing in the I think he's going to become a field commander for whatever Earthhouse does. I feel like there's just so many moments that these characters of Earthhouse where they try and do something but they're just not quite there yet. I could definitely see that becoming part of, like, at least the finale. If there's 24 episodes, the finale. If there's 50 episodes, they're going to be consistently out more.
Yeah. There's so many little things that are planted and not grown yet, right? Like, there's the pilot from the prologue who gets, like, one bit near the end of the season, where we're like, right. Oh, it's that guy again. And then, like, that's there's still plenty waiting in the ground to sprout back up. So
yeah, and we don't know why they don't necessarily want why they keep making new Ellens, right? We don't know. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think that this show has done a really good job at doing this. I think that we might get an interesting episode with Nika and Martin talking about Donna Fold. I'm really excited to see how that plays out. Because
the is it Sophie who's way into fighting Suletta?
I think so.
She's super dead. She will die.
She
will fight to eventually to the point where someone will kill her. Like, she will force someone to kill her. You know what? maybe she and Guel will kill each other. Maybe Guel will finally get his win, but it will also cause him to die. And she will lose to someone who is not even as good as Suletta, and she's gonna die mad about it. I don't know.
I can see
I would
that.
feel sad if they died.
I guess
they're funny characters, but
I'm a little interested to see how Donnafold comes out, because clearly, like, they have a reason, right? They're not good people, but like, are they? But they are doing things because they've been oppressed for so long, right? Yeah.
It's interesting because if you just, like, without walking someone through the actual show as a piece of media, if you took me through the prologue and you just described to me, all right, here are these characters, here are their affiliations, then I would automatically be assigning, like, okay, so, Delling antagonist, Prospera protagonist, terrorist group kind of, deuteragonist, but definitely, like, on the protagonist side, right? So on and so forth. I feel like watching the actual show, the way they are cast is very different from that. And so therefore I'm waiting. I'm like, all right, when are you gonna, when are we going to humanize the terrorist group, right? I feel like it's gotta happen. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Yes, I believe we'll see it. I honestly do. I think this show has spent the first 12 episodes building up to what it wants to be, and I think we're going to see that. I'm interested to see how Suletta reacts to killing a dude, because we know that she was a little scared at first, and I kind of find it like clearly there was something brainwashing her where she killed that guy and didn't react at all, you know. And so I'm interested as if she comes down off of that brainwashing and like freaks out, or if it's going to be like a, she doesn't remember. Maybe it's a blackout type scenario. Or if she's just permanently like that until someone breaks her out of it. I'm not entirely sure. And I'm interested to see what they do with that, because that first episode is going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of deconstruction. Well, I don't have anything else to say.
No, I think we said all we can about the show. So, Grant, what are we reviewing next?
Well, Brantley, what we are reviewing next is probably Inspector Season 2. Yeah,
yep. Pretty decent chance of that. Technically, it's up in the air right now because we finally got through our backlog. But that's the one we've been watching most recently. There's got to be at least half a dozen other shows that we have started, but, have not finished. But since Inspector is, running at a time of recording, I think still, or did it finish?
And it only has like 4 more episodes left, or 3 more episodes left. So good chance it's going to be that, or we can talk about Rent-A-Girlfriend Season 3. I think that's a good one.
Do you, Grant?
What? No, I don't. I just looked at currently running, and I went to see like what was currently running, and I found the Rent-A-Girlfriend Season 3 updated teaser visual.
Let me throw a dart to piss someone off. Okay.
But it will probably be Inspector, and hey, by the time that's done, Gundam Witch for Mercury Season 2 will premiere April 9th, 2023.
Yep. We shall see. So if people want to see more from us when that stuff comes around, how can they do that?
You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we post long-winded reviews. And we talk about the things that we like about them. You can also subscribe to us on Twitch if you want to listen to us in a more casual setting, where we play video games. Right now we are playing Hero Hours Contract 2 by Steve O'Gorman. It's an independent magical girl game that is basically catered to our sense of humor. If you want to check that out, you can buy the first one on Steam, and the second one is free. You can follow me on Twitter, although I don't really do much of it on there anymore, but yeah, it's good to see some interactions. But you also don't need to do any of that, because we are not your dads. All right.
Okay. I want to start this off, Grant, by giving you fuck it. Okay.